Hello my bookish friends, welcome back to another video. And if you're new here, then welcome to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. Today we are going to be talking about how to become a reader, or if you already are a reader, how to read even more. Now, maybe you're someone who has always wanted to become a reader, but curling up with a book sounds a little bit daunting, or you just have terrible memories of it from when you were forced to read in school, or maybe you used to read a lot and now you've just fallen out of the habit. Well, don't worry, today I have lots of tips and tricks in order to help you get back into reading. So where do you even begin with reading? Well, I have a few suggestions for you. My first suggestion is to listen to audiobooks. Audiobooks are absolutely a game changer for anyone who doesn't necessarily have the time to sit down and read a physical book, at least not all that often, because you can listen to audiobooks while you're doing chores, while you're exercising, while you're commuting to and from work. Basically any task where your hands are busy but your mind is not is a great time to be listening to an audiobook. That way you can still experience the stories without having to actually sit down and read the physical book. I personally have listened to a lot of audiobooks over the past year, and there are some really great options out there for audiobooks, and there's lots of audiobook subscription options as well. Of course, the most prominent of these is Audible, where you can pay a monthly subscription fee and you get a certain amount of credits depending on which plan you choose. But you also can listen to audiobooks with Spotify Premium. You get a certain amount of hours each month. And then there's also your local library and apps like Libby, which is a library app where you can borrow library books like you would a physical book from the library and listen to it and then give it back. My second tip for you is to find little pockets of time to read. A lot of the times we imagine sitting down and just having like an hour or two of prolonged time where you can sit and read, but a lot of the times that's just not a reality. By reading in small pockets of time, you can really grow the amount of overall time that you spend reading. And by keeping a book with you at all times, either through your Kindle, a physical book, or even just using the Kindle app on your phone, you can have your book with you at all times, and you can use 5 or 10 minutes while you're standing in line at a coffee shop or while you're waiting for someone to arrive. Any sort of time where you just have 5-10 minutes to just sit down and read a book, where normally you would be maybe looking at your phone or sitting and doing nothing at all, is a great time to just get a few pages read and therefore read a lot more than you currently are. You can also start a book club in order to read more. Now, I say start a book club because I think that reading with friends is one of the best ways to read a book. Not only do you have a group of people that you can talk about the story with, but you also can experience a lot more genres and diverse book tastes by doing this, because each month someone else in the book club can choose the book, so you're getting a variety of different tastes. Being a part of a book club also adds a layer of accountability, where you told someone that you were going to read a book, so you feel more obligated to actually read the book, which in a lot of cases can be really good if you're trying to read more. And there are lots of options for book clubs as well. You don't necessarily have to start your own if you don't have people in your life who want to start a book club with you right now. You can look online for book clubs in your area. There are also online book clubs, and even apps like Fable have book club sections where you can look for a book club that matches your taste. There are book clubs that are completely dedicated to reading books by specific authors, or reading books in specific genres, or ones that pride themselves on having a very diverse reading taste and reading from all sorts of genres and authors at all times. So there's definitely something for everyone when it comes to book club. Trying new genres is also an amazing way to fall in love with reading again. Don't feel stuck in a book taste where you think that you should like it, but instead explore different genres and see what you actually really do like and see what actually sticks. And don't get discouraged if maybe a book doesn't necessarily fit your taste right away. You can always DNF a book and move on and find something that will fit your taste even better. But with so many genres to choose from, it's really easy to explore and look for really great options in every kind of genre. There's fantasy, sci-fi, thriller, horror, mysteries, romance, historical fiction, non-fiction. You might surprise yourself with what you end up liking from any of these genres. Now, the goal of all this is to honestly just find one book that you really, really love, because one book can change absolutely everything when it comes to if you like to read or if you don't like to read. So by doing something as simple as picking a book that you think that you might like, And then doing another thing that's simple, like make your reading time as cozy as possible. I'm talking make a glass of tea or maybe some coffee, whatever your favorite beverage is, putting on some music that matches the mood of the book that you're reading, getting under a blanket, putting on some comfy clothes, and just like making it a really cozy time that you can look forward to that is also very peaceful for you. By making it really cozy and romanticizing the prolonged time that you are setting aside to reading, you will look forward to it more and more. And if you're struggling to find the time to do that, you could always try swapping some of your phone time for reading time. So many of us today are trying to be mindful of how much time we spend on our phones, myself included. So if you find that you are spending a good amount of time on your phone, but you don't have enough time to read the book that you want to read, you could swap some of your phone time for reading time. Some tips with this could be to set a timer for how long that you are not allowed to pick up your phone so that you have that time undistracted to read, or you could put your phone across the room or in another room while you read so that you are not distracted by it. Even just swapping 15 to 30 minutes of phone time for reading time each day can make a really big difference in how much you're reading and how much you are enjoying the story. Now, there's a lot of books out there in the world, and it can be overwhelming trying to decide just what you think that you should read. And one of the ways that I find many of the recommendations for books that are on my TBR cart and books that I want to read are actually from booktubers. There are so many channels that are just like this one where people talk about books and read different genres of books and have different perspectives on the stories that are being told. And so there's definitely something for everyone. By watching a YouTuber that aligns with your book taste, or at least aligns enough with your book taste, you'll be able to find so many recommendations that you would have otherwise maybe not known about. And it's also a great way to get excited about reading again. My next tip for you is to try to incorporate reading as much into your routine as possible. Maybe you wake up and read 5 or 10 pages before you get out of bed, or maybe you read 5 or 10 pages before you fall asleep at night. But by changing your habits in these little ways to incorporate reading, you will find that you're reading much more than you ever thought that you would. Now is for the part that I'm most looking forward to recommending to you, and that is gamify your reading. What do I mean by gamify your reading? There are so many things that you can do to make reading a more fun process than it currently is. I personally use apps that help me track my reading, not only so I don't lose my place, but also so I can set goals, see what other people are reading, see how far along I am in the book percentage wise, have a list of every book that I have read, have a list of every book that I want to read, and even see reading stats all in one place. You can use apps like Goodreads or Fable or Storygraph to keep track of what you have read and what you want to read, and you can see how many books you have read so far this year, etc. And it's a lot of fun to look at. You can also add your friends in these spaces so you can keep track of what they're reading and when they update. And it becomes a little bookish community that's just so wonderful to be a part of. You can also gamify choosing which book you're going to be reading next, or by gamifying a TBR for that month. You guys have probably seen on this channel before, but frequently I choose TBRs for either seasons or month to month, and I almost never choose the books myself just off of the shelf. I always make it some sort of game to see what book I'm going to be reading next. And one of my favorite ways to do that is by creating a TBR jar. Now, how a TBR jar works is you pick some sort of jar and you fill it with prompts that help dictate which book you should read next, and you pick a book that matches that prompt accordingly. So for example, if we choose one that's really deep down here, this prompt says, read a book with a diverse cast of characters. And so then I would scan my TBR cart and I would pick a book that has a diverse cast of characters in it, and then I would either read that book right away or I would add it to my monthly TBR. I personally enjoy choosing my monthly TBR so much. It is one of my favorite things to do every single month, and now that I have done it pretty consistently over the past few months, I can't imagine picking one book at a time, reading a book, and then going back to my bookshelves, looking at them and trying to decide what to read next, because it's so much more fun to do it in this way. And as you guys saw in one of my more recent videos, there are lots of other ways that you can choose your TBR as well, such as using AI to help you pick your books like I did with Scout. But you can also use other things like websites where you can either type your TBR jar prompts or the names of the books that are on your TBR into a custom spinner wheel, and then you can spin the spinner wheel to decide which book or which prompt you will be using next. And again, with including community around you, it's also really fun fun to have other people pick part of your TBR or to pick out the prompts for your TBR. Other things that I've seen people do that are really creative is to wrap every single book that they own in brown paper and number them. Then they can use a spinner wheel for 1 to however many books they have, and whatever number it chooses is the book that they have to read, and then they unwrap it, see what the book is, and read it from there. You can also give yourself reading challenges. I recently tried to read 200 pages a day, but I've also done 24-hour challenges. All in all, gamifying your reading can be an absolutely fun experience, and I recommend it to everyone, even if you're not going to film it or even if no one else knows that you are doing it. I think that it is an absolute blast. But finding those websites and creating those TBR jar prompts can be a lot of work, so I have linked below a spinner wheel website that I like to use for choosing my TBR. I've also included a website that generates TBR prompts for you in case you don't have the time or you don't want to create an actual physical TBR jar yourself. And lastly, I have created a Canva template that has TBR jar prompts so that you can print it yourself and then cut out the strips and create your TBR jar without having to come up with all the prompts. So there you have it, a bunch of ideas to help you become a reader, read more, or make the whole process just more enjoyable. Remember that there's no right or wrong way to read. It's all about finding what works for you and finding the incredible worlds and stories that await you. So what are some of your favorite tips to become a reader? Share them in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like this video and to subscribe if you have not already for even more bookish content. As always, I have my Goodreads and my Fable linked down below, so be sure to follow me on those platforms to see the most current and up-to-date status of what I'm reading. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.